If you follow international financial news, you've probably heard of the BRICS nations. That's BRICS and stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. This is a group of nations that back in 2009 founded an informal organization, a club really. BRICS was formed at the instigation of Russia to challenge the world economic order led by the US and our allies around the world. When I say Russia instigated BRICS, I mean Vladimir Putin, because nothing of significance happens in Russia unless Putin is behind it. To put this in perspective, it helps to consider a timeline of Russian behavior leading up to the formation of BRICS in 2009. In 2006, the Georgian parliament voted to join the U.S.-European Security Alliance, NATO. Georgia sits on the border of Russia with a 200-year history of facing Russian aggression. Putin then proceeded to undermine the Georgian government by supporting separatists and used that conflict as a pretext to invade the nation and seize part of its territory. In 2007, Russia planted a flag on the seabed under the North Pole, then claimed the region as in its territorial waters, and is now attempting to seize billions of dollars in oil and gas reserves by militarizing the Arctic. Later in 2007, Putin withdrew from a major arms control treaty, lifting limits on its deployment of heavy military equipment toward NATO's border. In 2008, Russia conducted exercises in the North Atlantic and along the U.S. coast, in the largest demonstration of naval force since the Soviet era. And in 2009, Putin began his 15-year pressure campaign, now an all-out war against Ukraine, cutting off gas supplies in the middle of the Ukrainian winter. BRICS was founded later that year. You probably get the picture. So how does Russia, and now China, plan to undermine the Western alliance through BRICS? One way, they say, is by creating a new currency to replace the dollar. But how realistic is that? Examples of broadly circulating international common currencies are extremely rare. Outside of empires, the British Empire, the Soviet Union, the Roman Empire, the only one that comes to mind is the euro. The adoption of the euro was the culmination of more than a century of work by committed visionaries and driven by the slaughters of World War I and II, the Great Depression, the Cold War, and 40 years of economic integration of Europe. BRICS, on the other hand, is basically a social club. They meet in beautiful places around the world, they talk, they pose for photographs. Other nations want to join. Why not? They stand up to the Western economic colossus and posture for the folks back home. Here's an interesting contrast. India and China, the I and C in BRICS, have had multiple deadly border conflicts over the years, most recently in 2022. They also have nuclear weapons pointed at each other. How many deadly border conflicts have the Western nations had over the past 75 years? How many nukes do they have pointed at each other? None and none. So how likely does it seem that India and China will form a common currency anytime soon? There's no doubt that the BRICS nations will exert growing influence in world markets in the future. They do today. But when you read that they're on the verge of replacing the dollar, I suggest skepticism.